Hi, welcome. In this video we're going to show you how to reset up your Whisper email account using our new Plesk server. You've probably received an email from us that's telling you about the changeover from our old servers to the new servers. If you haven't received this, we may not have migrated your mailbox just yet, so if you do attempt this and you have any errors, please get in touch with us, probably best using our live chat, or you can send a WhatsApp message to our 0330 number. Failing that, if you have got access to email, you can email support@whisper.net or give us a call. So the first thing I want to do is just let you know the differences between the old server settings and the new server settings. So to give you a little bit of background, for the last 20 or so years we've used a mass email platform in the Whisper network, which has proved very reliable. It's a great system, but it lacks some functionality and important features, one of which we all probably have noticed, that if you're not using a Whisper connection, you can't send email through the SMTP server. So if you're using mobile devices outside your home, for example, the emails probably won't send until you get home and back on a Whisper connection. So we wanted to update things, refresh our systems, and the best solution was to use our Plesk hosting servers, which we've also used for many years, and customers that take hosting from us and domain names will be familiar with that system. But not to worry, if you're not, there will be a couple of videos that will follow on from this that will show you how to log in the system, and you can manage your email and add websites and do lots of fancy things. But first of all, let's talk about your old Whisper email account, and then we'll talk about the new one. So the old settings, if you remember when you used to go into Outlook or Windows Mail or Thunderbird, you used to have to set up your account to download the email. That's still the case, but some of the settings will have changed. First off, the email address that you have, that's not changed. But it's important to notice the format of it. So before the @ sign, we call this part the alias. So traditionally we used to give an alias of post @ and then your Whisper username .whisper.com. And the aliases, you could have multiple aliases, so you could have one for yourself, one for the kids. If you've got a business, you could have sales @ or support @. And you could either have them going to the same mailbox, or some customers have had separate mailboxes for those set up. And that was all free as long as you had a Whisper broadband account, and still remains so. So the email address hasn't changed. The old servers have changed. If you remember, they were pop3.whisper.com and smtp.whisper.com. And when you used to set up your mail client, you used to log in with the username, which was this up here, the John Doe part. If you had extra mailboxes, you might have had -MB1 or MB2, and obviously the password. This is a very insecure password, but we'll talk about that later. It's just for demonstration purposes. If you were used to using the webmail, you probably used to log in using webmail.whisper.com or .net. That's also changed with the new system, but we'll come on to that in a minute. So the new Plesk server, the email address is the same as I've mentioned. The incoming and outgoing mail servers have changed, and you will need to change these in your mail client. So the new server address is plesk.whisper.net, and it's exactly the same for both incoming and outgoing email. The username that you log into the or should I say your email client authenticates with, is this full email address format. It's no longer just the username, so you have to input the full email for the username. The password is going to remain the same as it was on the old server. SSL should be enabled because it's more secure, because it encrypts your emails as the sending and receiving. The old server did support that, but you didn't have to have it enabled. With the Plesk server, it should be enabled. And the final point to mention, which I'll demonstrate later, is the webmail address has now changed. So instead of using webmail.whisper.com as we had up here, it will now be personalized to your email address or domain, so it will be webmail.johndoe.vispa.com. and you can also change the webmail settings and the webmail software in Plesk, but we'll come to that later. So once you've got all your settings to hand, we can forget about all the old settings and just make a note of the new settings, and then we can go ahead and set up our mail client. So in this example, I'm just going to use the Windows Mail. It's a very simple email client that comes free with Windows, and I'm sure many of you are using it. The first thing we need to do is to get rid of the old email account that we have in there. By the way, you may have seen some welcome emails or order confirmations. This is just us setting up you on the new Plesk hosting system. So you get a welcome email, an order confirmation. If it's a free account, you'll notice it's free. If you've retained your email account and moved up your broadband elsewhere, we do charge you for it, and it will be raised in this system. So first off, let's remove the account that's already in there because it's connected to the old server. So to do that, we go down to the bottom to the cog, the settings cog, which opens up the menu on the right hand side. We go to manage accounts, we choose the account, and we delete this account by clicking remove this account from your device. Are we sure we want to? Yes, delete it. And we're now back to an empty email client. So next thing we need to do is to re-add that email account, but to use the new server settings. So on the left hand side, we can go to accounts, or you can use the same process as we just deleted by the cog down here, but it's easier to go to accounts, click the plus sign on the right hand side to add a new account. You can also add Outlook, Hotmail, Exchange accounts, Google, Yahoo, but for the purposes of ours, we're going to go down to the very bottom, and we have two options. We're using an IMAP account, so we can choose IMAP here, but we found that it doesn't always auto discover the server settings. So our preference is that you avoid doing that and you just go to Advanced Setup. You then have two options. We're not using an Exchange server, this tends to be for business. We're using just standard internet email, and in our case we're using an IMAP, so we choose the second option. Then we're able to enter the server settings that we had before. Just make this a bit bigger so we can see everything. So first of all, we enter the email address, which is post@johndoe, for the example, .vispa.com. The username. So this is the username that this email client will use to connect to the mailbox. Previously on the old mail server it was just John Doe or John Doe-MB1. It's not the case now with Plesk. It's the full email address that you connect with. In actual fact, it's much simpler doing it this way. The password, as you had on the old mail server, will be the same on the new mail server. We've used a really insecure one, let me in 1. If you do have an insecure password, check out the next video that shows you how to log into Plesk, and you can also change those passwords. You can add email accounts, add aliases, whatever you need to do, but we do recommend you have a secure password. The account name is just the name that the client refers to this mailbox, so you could put your home email, personal email. We usually recommend you just put your name. And when you send your email addresses, this is asking what should I send the email addresses from, or who should I send them from. We also recommend your name. If it's a business, you could put sales team or accounts team, for example. Incoming mail server, this is different now. It used to be pop3.vispa.com. Now it's plesk.vispa.net. While we're here, we can copy that and we can paste it into the outgoing mail server. So both the incoming mail and the outgoing mail server are now exactly the same, plesk.vispa.net. We can choose the account type. There's two account types. We're using IMAP. And the reason we use IMAP is because it keeps a copy of your emails on the server. If we wanted to, we could use POP3. It is a little bit dated these days, but the downside to using POP3 is it will download all of your emails to your computer and not leave them on the server. So if, for example, your hard disk crashed and you've not backed them up, you will lose all your emails. So our advice is use IMAP. Your emails are stored on our server, which is backed up daily. And the other advantage is it synchronizes the emails across your iPad, your phone, for example, and different PCs. So if you read an email on your phone, it will also show as read on your PC. So IMAP is the way forward. So the account type is IMAP. The outgoing server requires authentication. The old mail server, as I mentioned, when you used smtp.vispa.com, you had to be on a Vispa broadband connection for the email to send. So if you was out and about down the local shops, the emails on your phone wouldn't send until you got back home. Very, very dated system. Now we just ask that you authenticate with the username and password so you can roam wherever you are in the world, send emails, which is more the norm these days, but you must have outgoing server authentication enabled. It's the same username and password for sending email as it is receiving email, and we're using SSL for both incoming and outgoing, and basically that means that your emails are encrypted when they're downloaded and sent to the server. So once all that's filled in, click on sign in. As you can see, it's connecting and we are all done. The account is successfully set up. And what will happen now is in a couple of seconds it should download the emails. I think there was a few in there. There we go. And we have our emails now from the new Plesk system. And that's it, everything's done. You can send and receive emails as normal. One further thing to mention, if you use webmail, you used to go to our website or webmail.vispa.com or .vispa.net. Now that's changed. It's a more personal system which you can tweak the settings in Plesk. I'll just quickly show you. webmail.johndoe.vispa.com, and here's our webmail. Again, you log in with the same username and password, which is the full email address format. This is great and handy if you're on holiday and want to just catch up on a few emails. This is the new system, and there we can see the emails that are in the account. You can create emails on the left hand side. It just basically peers into your email account, checks what's there, and you can send them. Really, really handy and useful, but just remember it's webmail. Whatever your username is, .vispa.com. That's it. Thanks for watching.